When you're down and out, things just don't work out, and it seems that your life is at an end.
I'm not on an ego trip, nothing on my own. I make mistakes, I often slip, this common flesh and bone. But I'll prove someday is why I say I'm of a special kind. When he was on the cross, I was on his mind. The look of love was on his face, thorns were on his head, blood was on the scarred road, stained a crimson red. Oh, his eyes looked ahead in time when he was on the cross. I was on his mind. He knew me, yeah. Yet when he was on the cross, I was on his mind. Yes, when he was on that cross, I was on his mind.
Sitteth. The 7 heads are 7 mountains or empires on which the woman sitteth. And there are 7 kings over these 7 empires. Now listen very carefully. John's doing the writing here now. 5 of these kingdoms or empires have fallen. And 1 is. You remember what's going on now. Keep this in mind now. 5 are fallen, and 1 is, and the other is not yet come. And when he cometh, he must continue a short space. It's so very plain to me. 5 kingdoms or 5 empires have fallen at the time John was writing. 1 was when John was writing. It died, and it's going to be resurrected again. in some portions of the Roman Empire are going to be resurrected again. And that means she's coming back alive. Not the Roman Catholic Church. No. The west, at least the western part of the old Roman Catholic Church. We'll see that in just a minute. Of the old Roman government, not the church. Some translations use the word hills. I have seen that in a few translations, but that's absolutely wrong. It should always be mountains. 7 mountains. This does not say 7 hills of Rome, as many people have tried to say it does. It says mountains, not hills. Keep that in mind. These mountains mean empires. These mountains have 7 kings, and I'm going to keep on till I know somebody out there hears me. Do mountains have kings? No, they represent 10 kings over these 7 mountains. We're going to see 10 kings come up here in a minute. And there are 7 kings. 5 have fallen. 1 is, and the other is yet to come. Now, when John was writing, the Roman government, like I say, is in play. She died, and there's going to be another to follow. And there's even going to be an 8th. A lot of people never even read that. I've never heard anybody speak that in all my time of study. I've never had anybody to tell me about the 8th head. But there is one. 5 are fallen. 1 is, and 1 is to come. And when he does come, he must continue a little space, for a little time, short period of time. When he comes on the scene, he's going to have 3.5 years. His part of the kingdom is going to be a 3.5 year period of time. The 7 empires have 7 kings. With kings, they must be empires. Daniel 2 uses this word kingdom and interchanges it with the word mountain. And it's going to be the 7th come along before too much longer. We're going to cover who that is at this very moment, very soon. Remember, the Antichrist is the 8th head. Keep that in mind. He's going to be the 8th head. And this 7th head that he's going to rise up from is in operation as Brother Binkley's talking right now. Please, please, please keep that in mind. The 7th head is in operation as we speak. The Antichrist is coming up from that 7th head. Verse 11 says this again. 5 are fallen. The 5 empires that had fallen are, as John is writing this epistle, the Egyptian Empire, the Assyrian Empire, the Babylonian Empire, the Persian Empire, and the Greek. Those are the 5 that had fallen. What empire was in power again now when John was writing? The Roman Empire. This harlot existed throughout all of these empires. very time empires were ever founded, she ruled and reigned through them, doing the bidding of Satan himself, all the way through each and every one of these empires. She was in the big influence over them all. That should prove to you without any doubt that what we're talking about has nothing to do with the Roman Catholic Church, but yet she's been blamed for it, and ain't no doubt about it, she's got a lot of influence around this earth. But this is not what we're talking about. We're talking about a seventh head, or a seventh empire. Throughout all of these empires, this harlot has influenced everything that they did. She's the mother of harlots. She makes people follow her, and she's been very good at it. Now this is a spiritual harlot now, keep in mind. One that is totally against God and His Word. The Roman government, as I say, was in existence while John was writing. It finally fell. It was actually defeated by Jesus. History don't tell you that, but the Bible does tell you that He crushed the feet and crushed this Roman government into powder to where a mighty wind could come and blow it away. And it did, just blew it right away. You understand this now, do you? I hope you understand that this cannot be the Roman Catholic Church. The harlot existed hundreds and hundreds and maybe thousands of years before the Catholic Church ever came into existence. Verse 11, one more time. And the beast that was and is not, even he, listen, and the beast that was and is not, even he is the eighth empire. The Antichrist is setting up his empire. He's going to be the eighth empire, and is of the seventh. He comes up out of the seventh. The eighth empire, and he's headed for destruction, or goeth into perdition. He's headed for destruction. He really can't get it in his head that that's what's going to happen to him. Upon taking over the might of 10 nations, he's going to get 10 nations as he comes on the scene. He'll have 10 nations to do his war work for him, you might say. He's got these 10 nations, and all of a sudden he announces that he is God. He becomes the eighth head and will soon be destroyed or go into perdition. With the destruction of the old Roman Empire, there must be 10 nations in place when the Antichrist comes on the scene. When he goes to the Battle of Armageddon, he must have 10 nations with him to be prophetically correct. He must have these 10 nations with him. When the Antichrist comes on the scene, he destroys 3 of these nations. He destroys 3 of his followers, but that leaves 7. Out of this comes 3 more. got to have these 10 before he can go to the Battle of Armageddon. He's done destroyed 3 of them. There's 3 of them that for some reason or another, he destroyed them. For some reason, some odd reason or another, he got rid of them. Maybe they were too religious. He didn't want anything to do with any kind of religion. No Muslim, no Christian, no Hindu, no Buddhist. He didn't want anything to do with any kind of religion. The Bible says that he regarded not the God of his fathers. Neither did he have any desire for women. Daniel 7 at verse 8, let's read that. Consider the horns, and behold, there came up among another a little horn, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes like the eyes of man, and a mouth speaking great things. It's the Antichrist that comes up. He's called the little horn in Daniel 7 and 8. He's called the little horn. He's called the 8th. Talking about the Antichrist coming up out of the 7th empire. Daniel 8 verse 9 says this, and out of the one of them, talking about 7 empires, and out of the one of them came forth the little horn, which waxed exceedingly great toward the south and toward the east and toward the pleasant land. The pleasant land there at this particular time is going to be Jerusalem, or most of the Middle East. The following information, now I want to make this very clear to everyone that can hear my voice right now. The information that I've obtained, I checked it out. I got this information from Dr. Hilton Sutton. I followed this man very closely, especially in his prophetic teaching. And through much prayer and much study, all I can do is offer you just about exactly the same thing that he offered. He died back in January and kind of left a hole in my heart. I listened to him religiously, along with others. I didn't just lock in on him, but I've never had anybody to explain to me how all this comes about. And let me just lay it out for you. I'm going to report it. You decide it. It's all up to you. I've already told you that 5 of these kingdoms had fallen. One was when John was writing. It fell, and now the 7th has come on the scene, and from the 7th is going to come the 8th, which is called the Antichrist. Who or what makes up the 7th head? Remember, it's in operation right now. This 7th head can be prophetically identified as of January the 1st, 1981. It really came into operation in 1995. It's getting stronger as each and every day passes by. Being influenced by this great whore religious system. Where did the 7th empire come from? Now, I want you to do some study around this yourself, and I hope you're recording this. I at least hope you're writing down some of this information. Where does the 7th empire come from. The religious system that the harlot is part of right today and spiritually controls it, as she did all the other evil empires. That's what she is. She's led this empire astray. They right today, when I say they, it takes these 10 nations, in fact it's 13 nations that make up this empire right today. And the woman that thou sawest is that great city which reigneth over the kings of this earth. What is that city? Let's see if we can find out. In 1957, pay very close attention. If you can, write this down. I'm going to try to go slow enough to where you can understand it. In 1957, an organization came on the scene called the European Economic Community, or the Common Market. Some people refer to it as the Common Market. It came on the scene. It had 6 members. When they came up with this coalition, they had 6 members involved. They had France, West Germany, Luxembourg, Belgium, Holland, and Italy. These 6 members came in at the very beginning in 1981. Came on the scene in their fullest in 1995. They remained 6 until 1973. They started in 1953, excuse me, and they came into these 6 nations that remained 6 nations until January 1973. Then England, Ireland, and Denmark joined them, making a total of 9. They remained 9 until January of 1981, when Greece became the 10th member. These nations make up the old Western division of the Roman Empire. Every one of them, right down the line, made up the Western division of the old Roman Empire. These are those 10 horns that we've been talking about. The 10 horns. The book of Daniel only dealt with 4 of these empires: the Greek, the Persian, the Babylonian, and the Roman empires. But also says that there will come together 10 nations. And in that time, or that period of time, there will arise a little horn, which is the Antichrist. Daniel 7, we've already read that. Daniel 7 is verse 8. Once these 10 nations are in place, which they are as we speak, the Antichrist will arise in the midst of them and destroy 3 as he comes on the scene. In the middle of the tribulation period, he destroys 3. When he announces that he is God, he destroys these 3 nations, which I think are religious in nature. And he don't need any of them to influence him. He don't need any religious organizations whatsoever. So he gets rid of 3. But like I said, to be prophetically correct, before he goes to fight this battle of Armageddon, he must have 10 nations with him. This means the common market must number 13. And they do. As of January the 1st, 1991, Spain and Portugal become 11 and 12. And in 1995, Austria became the 13th member. I don't know whether you're aware of it or not, but it's getting very, very, very close. Very close. Please, pay attention. This 7th nation of the 7th empire is in place. It's made up of these 13 nations right now. If you don't believe Brother Binkley, you go back and you check it just like I did. You go in there and you type in. I'm just going to give you a clue. Type in, let's say, the World Council of Churches. Type that in and see what happens. Type in and see what made up the western part of the old Roman government. In 1990, the common market made a statement that by 1993, that its members would come on the world's market as one European nation of states, just like we are the United States. They coming on as one nation of states. However, this didn't take place until 1995. Why? It wasn't time. It wasn't according to God's timeline.
When you're down and out, things just don't work out, and it seems that your life is at an end.